Welcome back to Slothbox. As usual, this video is brought to you by the Excelsior Sporting Club. Today, I'm joined by Abel Ramos. Abel, it feels like we've been setting this one up for a little while now, but finally, mate, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good, and thank you, man. Thank you for the invitation.
No worries at all, but I want to go right back to the start, as I usually do with my first interview with people. When did you first get into boxing?
Um, back, my family used to be boxing fans forever, man. We used to watch every fight, every pay-per-view fight we would watch. And but my older brothers, my trainer now, Jesus, they're the ones that started boxing. And then later on, they started training me and my other brothers. And that's how it all started, man. Just going to amateur fights and staying consistent.
Mm. You mentioned those amateur fights. I did a little bit of reading a while ago. You did pretty well in the amateurs, doing well in the Golden Gloves and other national tournaments. Some pros hate the amateurs as they look back, but how did you find that amateur experience?
It was good, man. I loved it. I got to travel a lot. I got to go all around the U.S., man, just going to tournaments and fighting the best talents out there, man. That's where you get all of your experience in the amateurs.
Mm. As an amateur, you mentioned fighting the best talent. Who would you say is the best you fought at the amateur level?
At the amateur level, man, there's so many names, man,
Mm.
that went on to become world champions. Jamel Herring, I fought him,
Mm.
and he went on to become a world champion. There's a lot of names, man. That's just one of them, But
Mm.
there's I fought everybody, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you turned pro at around 19, 20 years old. It's the thing is with debuts, you only get one of them. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. Talk to me about that night and how you remember it.
It was a good night, man. It was a whole different level from the amateurs, man. I didn't think there was gonna be so much difference, but putting on the 8 ounce gloves, I came out with my hands all sore,
Mm.
and I was like, man, this is crazy. It felt more like a street fight than a boxing match. So yeah, man, this it was a whole new game.
Mm. But from that moment, you then go on to have a streak of 13 wins and two draws before your first loss against Regis Prograis. And the thing is, at the time, you were both prospects, but Prograis now, it's that loss looks, in my opinion, a lot better on your record because of what he's gone on to do in the sport. But how did you feel about that loss at the time? Because, like I say, you were both prospects. How did you feel about it after that?
Yeah, man, first loss always hurts, man, and
Mm.
all the losses hurt, but this one more, because it's the first one. But I just went back and thought about everything that went wrong, and I just went back and fixed it, man. Because that's me when I started boxing, I said I was gonna fight the best. I knew he was a prospect coming up, and I could have waited for that fight, but I just wanted to test myself against everyone, see if I was gonna make it in the sport.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of boxers can take a leaf from your book there. You know what I mean? Like fighting the best. I feel like in boxing that's a big problem we've got at the minute. But I won't ramble on too much about that. Let's talk about Prograis for a little second. How do you how do you rate him in the sport? You've shared the ring with him. He's just signed with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. He's calling for a fight with Devin Haney, and some people are saying maybe Jack Catterall. Do you think if he gets those wins, do you think he can get those wins and cement his legacy in the sport?
He's talented enough to do it, man. He's very talented guy, and I'm sure he'll get those fights. I don't know if he'll be able to win them, because
Mm,
Devin Haney's a young prospect, but I do believe that Regis has the power, to stop those guys.
mm.
And yeah, man, I wish nothing but the best for him, man. And I'm coming down to the 140-pound division, man. So hopefully I get to see him again in the ring.
Nice, mate. But since that moment, you've been in some great fights with some great fighters. I mean, Baranchik, Bryant Pereira, where that was a great fight, and Ugas, where you lost very narrowly. But before we talk about that Ugas loss, I feel like fighters ain't really asked this during their career, but so far, what has been your favorite night in your career? Because like some people might say it's this one, that one, but boxers, I feel like they'll give a different answer. But for you, what's been the favorite night in your career so far?
It has to be the Perella fight, man, just
Mm,
because of just because of that drama, that I ended the fight with a second left in the fight, and I was behind the scorecard. So yeah, man, that was an amazing feeling that night. It was just crazy. I couldn't believe it.
So much drama. Like, how did you feel? Like you say, you ended it with seconds to go. 10th round knockout. Some fighters won't even get that in their career. How did you feel when he didn't get up?
Yeah, man, I was excited, man. You could see in the video, I was just jumping up and down, man. It was crazy, man. But I remember coming out that round. I said, if I just land the punch, if I just land it, oh, I can knock him out. I just had that belief throughout the
Mm,
whole fight, and then when it finally came, it was relieving, man.
yeah, it couldn't have come at a better moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about Ugas for a minute because I feel like not at that time, but definitely now, I feel like he's a bit of a boogeyman in the sport, as in like some people don't want to go near him. And like that's just my personal opinion, but you lost to him on a split. You can't really get much. You can't get closer than that. How do you rate Ugas? What was he like to share the ring with?
Ugas was very tricky, man. He like from the outside, he looks very just like a straight up, fighter. That's what we got when we were preparing for him.
Mm,
But inside the ring, he's very very different, man. His counter punches are real good, and his power is all right too. It's not devastating power, but he's got enough power
mm,
to make you think twice. And I think the his ability to counter punch, I think that's his best
mm.
trait in boxing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, moving on from him, last time out it was a loss at the MGM Grand Arena on the Plant Benavides card against Cody Crowley. What I just want to talk to you about, like, what do you think went wrong that night? Because it was a big occasion, but you've been on plenty of those. On a personal level, what do you think went wrong that night?
I just think, like I said, I'm going down to the 140-pound division because I feel like I was giving too much advantage,
Mm,
in the weight aspect. I was only putting like 4 pounds after weighing. These guys are putting like 15, 15 to 20 pounds. So I felt like that was like the biggest thing. I just felt him like real heavy on me, and he
mm,
was just like on top of me, and I think that got to me.
mm. But let's talk a little bit about what's next. You mentioned that 140-pound division. I feel like you explained perfectly like why you want to go down there, so there's less of a disadvantage because, like you say, you're trying to get bigger to be in that weight division. But I feel like 140 pound, you say it suits you. So talk to me about what's next and the guys you're looking for in that 140-pound division.
Yeah, man. Any of the top guys, man.
Mm,
I don't like to call people out, but I want to win the world title, man. So I'm coming after every top 140 pounder.
mm. You mentioned earlier in the video that I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not going to try and get you to call someone out. But you mentioned earlier Prograis. I mean, you both lost at you lost at an early stage in your career. I feel like that'd be a nice thing for you to get back in the ring with him and try and take that back.
Yeah, man. That would be a great rematch to make. I've learned so much since that loss. So I think I can do a better job this time.
Mm. Well, moving on from yourself a little bit, let's talk about a big fight in boxing. It's in your old division now, Spence Crawford. I feel like, well, I know we've been waiting for this fight a long time, but just talk to me about how you think that fight's going to go down when it finally does go down.
Man, I think it's a very even fight. 50-50. I'm leaning towards a little bit towards Crawford just because, I don't know why, man, just because his boxing skills. But it's a little bit of an advantage to Crawford, but I think it's gonna be an awesome fight, man.
Mm.
Great for
When,
boxing.
yeah, definitely great for boxing, but the thing is, with big fights, if you often look at their records and go, "Oh, how did he do against this fighter? When did he last fight?" But I was talking to my friend the other day, and I feel like in a fight of this magnitude, form really does go out the window because it's two of the greatest in the sports putting the gloves on in the ring. I feel like form's irrelevant. How do you feel about things like that when people speculate about a fight?
Yeah, man. This is. I mean, you can always give your opinion, but any given night, man, any boxer can lose, man. And
Mm,
boxing, that's the type of sport it is, man. One punch can change the whole fight. But just like I said, man, I'm leaning towards a little bit Crawford, but there's I can't give him like, oh no, he's winning for sure, you know, because
Yeah, yeah.
Spence is a great fighter too.
Mm. Moving on from those guys, what are your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez? Supposedly, well, he has apparently given up his belt and retired after the Josh Taylor win. You don't often see that. Yeah, it's normally after a loss when
Yeah.
fighters are looking towards the end. But he's a young man and he's decided so well. Apparently, it's enough for him. What do you think to all that's going on? Do you believe him that it will stay retired?
No, I don't think he'll stay retired, man. I think he'll take some time off, probably. You
Mm,
know, like you said, he has some things to do off the ring, you know, and but I don't think he'll retire. And I mean, he's young enough that he can do that. You know, he can take a
yeah.
couple years off and come back and still be young.
Mm.
So yeah, I think he'll be back though for sure.
Mm. Well, last question. It's been a pleasure speaking to you so far. I just want to get from you. You said you're moving down to the 140. You're looking at those guys at the top of the division, but we're halfway through the year. Where do you see yourself at Christmas time come the end of the year? What have you done?
Hopefully I'll get two more fights, man. I want to fight twice before the year ends,
Hmm.
and that would be my perfect ending for the year, and getting closer to a title shot at 140 pounds.
Mm. Well, mate, as I said, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I've been Lyndon Dixon. He's been Abel Ramos, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No worries.